Rain poured mercilessly that night, washing away the last fragments of pride she had left. Her designer heels were gone, her expensive coat torn, and her trembling hands clutched the side of an abandoned warehouse wall for support. Her once commanding voice, now barely a whisper, broke the silence. "Please, don't hurt me, I can't walk." She wasn't the woman people saw on magazine covers anymore. She wasn't the ruthless CEO who built an empire from scratch. She was just Emily Hayes, broken, scared, and utterly alone. And in that moment, standing just a few feet away, he appeared. A stranger with a bruised heart and a child sleeping in the back seat of a rusty old truck. A man who had every reason to walk away but didn't. If you're moved already, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to Whispers of Kindness, where stories like this remind us that compassion can change everything. Story: Emily Hayes was the kind of woman who didn't cry, not when investors backed out at the last minute, not when tabloids tore her personal life apart, not even when her fiancé left her for her best friend. She had built an image so cold and flawless that no one dared to see the cracks beneath it. Until the accident. It happened on a Thursday, an ordinary day filled with meetings, deadlines, and her assistant reminding her to breathe. Emily was driving home from the airport after a disastrous business trip, the rain turning roads slick with danger. A flash of headlights blinded her for a second. Then came the crash, metal twisting, glass shattering, and pain unlike anything she'd ever known. When she woke up in the hospital, the doctor's words cut through her like knives. "Ms. Hayes, your legs sustained severe nerve damage. Walking might never be the same again." For the first time, her empire didn't matter. Her wealth, her position, her reputation, they all dissolved into a blur of tears and disbelief. She was a woman who could command 1,000 employees, but she couldn't command her own legs. Months passed. Her board of directors pushed her out, temporarily. Investors whispered that the company needed someone fit to lead. Her apartment, once filled with visitors and laughter, grew silent. And when she tried to return to work, the pitying eyes and awkward silence were worse than the pain. So she disappeared. No one knew where Emily went after she fired her driver and left the city. She just drove, out past the suburbs, through small towns and back roads, until her car broke down near a rural diner in the middle of nowhere. That's where she met Luke Carter. Luke was a single dad raising his 7-year-old daughter Mia after losing his wife to cancer. Life hadn't been kind to him either. He worked double shifts at the local auto repair shop, his hands rough from years of labor. Yet behind those weary eyes, there was warmth, an unspoken kindness that came from surviving the worst and still choosing to be gentle. When he saw Emily stranded on the roadside, he offered help, but she refused, her pride still clinging to the last shreds of her identity. "I'm fine," she said coldly, gripping her walking stick. "I just need to call a tow truck." He nodded, smiled politely, and walked away. But when the storm worsened, lightning cracking through the dark sky, he turned back. And that's when he found her collapsed beside the car, trembling, whispering through the pain. "Please, don't hurt me, I can't walk." He dropped to his knees immediately. Hey, it's okay," he said softly. "You're safe. I'm not going to hurt you." Something in his voice, steady, kind, real, broke through the walls she'd built. He carried her to his truck, wrapped his old jacket around her shoulders, and took her to his home, a small wooden house that smelled of rain and old books. The next morning, Emily woke to the sound of laughter. A little girl with messy pigtails peeked into the guest room, holding a tray with cereal and a glass of orange juice. "Daddy says you can stay till you get better," Mia chirped, setting the tray down carefully. "He fixed your car too." Emily blinked, unsure what to say. It had been years since anyone had shown her kindness without expecting something in return. Days turned into weeks. Luke refused payment for fixing her car. "You've been through enough," he said simply. "Sometimes people just need a place to rest." He didn't ask who she was. He didn't recognize the famous CEO. To him, she was just a woman trying to find her way again. And slowly something inside Emily began to heal, something deeper than her body. She watched how Luke treated everyone with respect, from the waitress at the diner to the mechanic who borrowed his tools. She watched how he tucked Mia into bed every night, whispering, "You're stronger than you think." One evening, while sitting on the porch under the fading sunset, Emily asked, "How do you do it? How do you keep smiling after everything you've lost?" Luke looked at her quietly. Because my daughter's watching, he said. And because pain doesn't have to make us cruel. It can make us kind if we let it. Those words stayed with her. Emily began helping around the diner, where Luke sometimes took extra shifts. Her hands, once used to signing million-dollar contracts, now served coffee and wiped tables. At first, she was awkward, spilling drinks, stumbling on her weak leg, but the townspeople didn't mock her. They encouraged her. The woman who once ruled skyscrapers now found peace in simplicity, in laughter shared over pancakes, in little Maya's drawings, in Luke's quiet strength. One night, after months of silence, she finally told him the truth. "I'm Emily Hayes," she confessed, "the CEO of Hayes Global." He looked at her unshaken. "I figured you were someone important," he said with a small smile. "But here, that doesn't matter." Tears welled in her eyes. "Everyone left when I lost everything. You're the only one who didn't ask for anything." He reached across the table and took her hand gently. "Maybe because I know what it's like to lose everything, and realize it wasn't everything after all." Weeks later, when Emily regained enough strength to walk short distances without her cane, she visited the hospital that treated her after the accident. There, she met a young nurse crying in the hallway because she couldn't afford her mother's medication. Emily remembered her own helpless nights and decided right then she wouldn't return to her company as the same person. She came back to the city, not as the powerful CEO she once was, but as a woman reborn. She reopened Hayes Global with a new mission, creating health and education programs for families of injured workers, single parents, and those struggling silently. She hired people who'd been overlooked, those who needed a second chance. And when reporters asked what inspired her transformation, she smiled and simply said, "A man and his daughter reminded me what real strength looks like." Months later, Emily returned to that small town. Luke was in the garage fixing a tire when she appeared, this time walking without a cane. Mia ran to her, shouting, "You're walking! Daddy, she's walking!" Luke turned, his eyes lighting up. "Looks like someone's been working hard," he said warmly. Emily laughed through tears. "Someone taught me how." They stood there under the soft golden glow of sunset, two souls who had both been broken by life, yet found healing in each other's kindness. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Whispers of Kindness. Because sometimes, a small act of compassion can change someone's entire world. Ending message: life has a way of breaking even the strongest among us. But sometimes, in the quiet corners of loss and pain, we find people who see beyond our scars, people who remind us that healing begins not with strength, but with kindness. Emily learned to walk again, not just on her feet, but through life, one step, one smile, one act of love at a time. And Luke, he never saved her for gratitude. He saved her because kindness was his way of walking through the storm. So remember this: when the world feels cruel, be kind anyway. You never know whose life you might change forever.